Hello, everyone. This is Debra Baker with Trusted CISO, and today I'm talking about the CMMC enforcement. So, what is CMMC and how to get ready for it? First, I'm going to introduce myself. I have over 30 years of experience in information security, starting out in the United States Air Force. I've worked at IBM, Cisco, and I'm also author of a CISO guide to cyber resilience, which you can get on Amazon. So please check it out. So Trusted CISO, at Trusted CISO, we offer strategic cybersecurity advisory, fractional CISO. It's compliance at your fingertips. So beyond compliance, built on trust. We're not just a checkbox, here it is. We're actually going to build in real security that's going to build up your defenses and lower your cyber risk. So back to CMMC. So the final rule was actually what was effective in December 2024, but now it's official as of September 10th, and then it's going to officially be effective November 10th, 2025. And so we're going to talk more about what this actually means. So what happens then? Well, the DoD is going to begin including CMMC in solicitations and contracts. Now, they have been including it like before this date, but now it's like the official date that, okay, they're going to start to include it. And if you either want to do business and be a contractor with the federal government, then you need to get CMMC level 1 or level 2. And so level 1 is if you're just dealing with federal contract information, then you can get the level 1, which is a self-attestation. The level 2 is if you are going to be processing or handling CUI, which is a controlled unclassified information. So as an example, if you are just a painting contractor, then you are going to be handling FCI because you actually have a contract with the federal government. But so you need to do a self-attestation of CMMC level 1. But if you think you're actually going to be working with CUI, that's where we need to go to the level 2. And we'll get into a little bit more into the differences. So the enforcement begins November 10th, 2025, applies to all DoD contractors. And basically what this could mean is if you have a current contract, when it comes up for renewal, expect that this is going to be in the new contract. And so for phase 1, it's from November 2025 through November 2026. A level 1 and level 2 self-attestations are being allowed. And some contracts may actually require the C3PAO to actually do an official audit. So for phase 2, it goes from November 2026 through November 2027. And that's where there's going to be more contracts that are going to say, okay, you need to actually, for the CMMC level 2, you actually have to have the external C3PAO come in and do the audit. For phase 3, that's November 2027 through November 2028. That's when the level 3 is going they're going to start doing assessments for the CMMC level 3, which is still in development right now. They're deciding like exactly the controls that will be required. And the level 3 is going to be for like military, high security contractors. And the government is actually going to, DIBCAC is actually going to do those audits. And then by November 2028, that's phase 4. So that's a full rollout. All contracts include CMMC requirements, and it could just be the CMMC level 1. It could be, the self-attestation of the CMMC level 2. So it's going to be specific to the contract. So why does CMMC matter? The hackers are going to go after the weakest link. And so a lot of smaller companies, medium-sized companies can actually get these contracts. And so they may not have the funds to actually have the enterprise security. And this was really seen with the F-35. So it was interesting. About 15 years, I saw a presentation, and they talked about that a coffee shop was put right across the street of a major military defense contractor. And basically the employees or contractors would come over there, bring their laptops, and everything. That the coffee shop was actually set up by terrorists that were supported by a nation state. And so everything that was on the Wi-Fi was being recorded, essentially. And they would target specific people. They'd figure out, okay, yes, this person works for that contractor. In this particular case, it was an advanced attack in that they actually found out what conference he was going to be going to. They went to the conference. It was in a different state. And when he was like in the restaurant, they broke into his room to get access to his computer. So there was a lot going on in that situation. But essentially, the National Defense Magazine was saying that there's a projected 600 billion plus annual IP theft, so intellectual property theft. With the F-35s, there were so many of these attacks. China essentially was able to steal the plans for the F-35 and built their own. They named it something else, but it's very similar to what, and it was just through these tactics of stealing, attacking the different contractors. So the defense industrial base has a baseline security. And as this moves on, right now it's all self-attestation. There are a few audits that are going on, but it's just going to be, more and more official audits that are going to be required. So right now, KiteWorks did this survey, and 44% of the defense industrial base lack end-to-end encryption. 42% lack supply chain visibility, and nearly half are not prepared. They're not ready. And the worst thing that can happen is if you misrepresent yourself and you submit and say, yep, I meet level 2, 110 controls, and you actually don't, this can actually lead to fines. You could be sued under the False Claims Act. I've read one place where it could be up to $10,000 per a requirement that's not met. But if it does go to court, typically you're looking at fines like $3 to $4 million. And for a small and medium-sized company, this could put them under. I mean, a big, like Raytheon or something like that, they could pay a fine of 5 million or 10 million. It's not going to hurt them. But a small company, that could be it. They could go under. So you definitely want to make sure that you're getting prepared for CMMC, whether it's level 1 or the level 2. So these actually are not new requirements. So it's just enforcing requirements that have already been there. They are mandatory for all DoD contractors, and it establishes a baseline security. So for level 1, basic safeguarding, there's 17 practices. And so this was based on the 15 FAR, and there were also 2 other practices added, and they now align with the NIST 800-171. For level 2, there's 110 practices. So it's a big jump in what's required. And so if you have a current government contract or interested in getting into government contracting, you want to go ahead now and start getting prepared. So who must comply? Well, primes, subcontractors, and cloud vendors. Even, doesn't matter the size of your company, the contract size, or your revenue. And here's an example of CMMC versus SOC 2 and FedRAMP. So SOC 2 is in the commercial space. It is a trust report. You have to have a third-party audit, attest to the controls and that you're meeting them. A third-party CPA that's been registered with the AICPA will actually conduct the audit. And then you get a report at the end that explains, these are the controls, and this is how you meet them and monitor them and so on. So FedRAMP is if you have a SaaS product and you want to sell it to the federal government as a service. Those cloud vendors have to get it FedRAMP. Now, FedRAMP is going through its own 20X. They're trying to simplify some things. And then there's CMMC, which is this is if you are a government contractor, your company has a contract with the federal government, then you need to self-attest at the very least, whether it's the CMMC level 1 or level 2. The level 3 is actually in progress right now. So the top challenges are documentation gaps. I've worked with several companies to prepare them for CMMC level 2. And I've also done mock assessments to, verify, is this company, they'll think that they're ready for it if they were audited. And one of the biggest things is just the SSP not having it fully described in the level of detail that's required. So that's one of the big things, is just not having the policies and procedures and processes, because a lot of times these are just processes that you need to do already, written up. So it could be you're missing, a gap in your controls. So you've got weak identity and access management. You may have no monitoring or visibility, and you have limited in-house cybersecurity expertise. So you don't really understand the requirements that they're asking for. So documentation pitfalls, outdated or missing policies, no proof of control operations. That's another thing you want to think about is what am I going to show to prove that I'm actually meeting this requirement? And so, for example, like with policies, you need to actually have all of your employees do an annual review and a sign off. And so you need to have that documented and have those records in case you are audited. So, audit readiness challenges are your scope. So, you want to have a clear scope definition, and this is true for any sort of an audit, but especially with CMMC. So, if you, for example, if you can set up a secure enclave for your CUI, then that can be a real time saver for your audit because instead of them looking at your entire network and your entire network having to be up to the 110 practices, they'll just look at the specific area where your enclave is. So you have a much greater chance of success and passing the audit if you were to be audited. So again, inadequate policies and procedures are a big gap, and that's something that Trusted CISO that I can help you with preparing and understanding the evidence that's required. So the business opportunity is compliance gives you a competitive advantage. So you're going to be able to go and bid for the contract, and what will happen is on the contract it'll say that you have to meet, it'll say NIST 800-171 within 30 days of being awarded. And although, I mean, if you had a team of people and you were working like crazy, you might be able to do it in 30 days, but it's a heavy lift to get 110 practices actually, with the policies, procedures, and processes and evidence. So it's something you want to start preparing for now before you actually are awarded the contract. But the good thing, so you're now eligible and you have a stronger security posture, so you lowered your cyber risk. So the cost of waiting, you could lose your contract. So it could cost more if you're in a hurry and I have to get all these things, all these gaps remediated in a really short period of time. And the worst case scenario, if you say you're meeting these and you actually aren't, you could get sued for millions of dollars. So that would be the worst case. So what the DoD expects, mature, consistent governance. So security culture, not a checkbox compliance. Ability to demonstrate compliance over time. Now, our solution at Trusted CISO is to meet you where you're at and within your budget, and we'll help you. We can write the policies, procedures, explain, actually create, usually I do like an action report of these are the items that you need to do in order to meet CMMC, and these are the remediations. So we make it simple. And I also offer enterprise level security products at SMB prices. So we'll do a gap analysis. We also can provide a compliance roadmap. We can do the policy and evidence development and management for you, audit prep, ongoing advisory support, and as I said, the enterprise security products at SMB prices. So our solutions, we offer compliance as a service. It's not just CMMC, but we do SOC 2, ISO 27001, FedRAMP, TexRAMP. pretty much you name it, we do it. And we're going to build in real security measures. So it's not just, oh, okay, this gets us by for whatever this is. But that way it's ongoing and you really have lowered your cyber risk. We offer 24 by 7 security operations center and blue team support through our trusted partners and vCISO, fractional CISO. So I can be there, on an ongoing basis with your security team, advising them and making sure that you're making the changes and building your security program to truly lower your risk. So I have a CMMC level 1 workshop. It's free. It's next week. You'll find it on Eventbrite. It's 3 30-minute sessions. And then in November, I'm going to be doing a level 2 workshop. So for the level 1, we'll actually go through each and every practice and discuss what's needed and what policies, procedures, and processes that you need to put in place to be prepared. So definitely check that out. If you can't find it on Eventbrite, then reach out to me on LinkedIn and I can send you the link. Also, book a readiness assessment. Partner with TrustedCISO for your CMMC compliance and other compliance, SOC 2, ISO 27001, or hey, are we doing things the right way? We also have a proprietary roadmap to get you to basically build up your defenses and lower your cyber risk. So this is my contact info. So definitely stay in touch and reach out. I'm going to check the chat. Hey, so yeah, I was surprised too, Samuel, the number of it was really surprising that it was like 44% that aren't prepared. So this is definitely a great opportunity to get ready so that you can keep your government contract. So thanks again, everyone.